I drip on your bitch like water. I splash on your bitch with the water. I feel like I'm 21 Savage. I pull up and fuck on your daughter.
It's that time again for another Smash Ultimate in-depth analysis. This time we are covering the highly requested Pokemon trainers and their team. Yes, all 3 Pokemon will be covered today, along with the trainers themselves. If you would like to skip to a specific Pokemon's analysis, simply go to their respective timestamps shown here on the screen. Now, because Squirtle and Ivysaur's last appearance was in Brawl, which is such a far removed game from Ultimate compared to Smash 4, I will be covering these two as if they were newcomers and will only be making comparisons to Brawl when a move is completely changed, animation and function wise. Charizard, on the other hand, will be directly compared to his Smash 4 incarnation. So without further delay, let's start with the trainers themselves and other features shared by the team as a whole. Let's start with the alternate skins. Here we can see all of them laid out for us, and some of the more keen of you may have noticed that not only can you play as the female trainer this time around, technically Red's counterpart Leaf from Fire Red and Leaf Green, but also that the alternate skins each represent a protagonist from generations 2 through 7. The default skins obviously reference Gen 1. A couple other little fun details include a Versus Seeker attached to their bags, an item introduced in Fire Red and Leaf Green that let you re-challenge trainers you already fought, and the trainers pointing in whatever direction your Pokemon performs their special move, as well as doing this little fist pump when they land a hit or recover successfully. As for the Pokemon's skins, they are mostly unchanged or barely changed from their Brawl, or in Charizard's case, Smash 4 appearance. Now obviously, since all these Pokemon are back in the same team, you can now switch between them once again. Switching is extremely quick this time around, taking only about 38 frames total before the next Pokemon can act, which is faster than moves like Diddy's Banana Toss, for instance. There is a huge amount of intangibility while this change is occurring. How much we do not know exactly, but it is enough to be used as a sort of pseudo air dodge or spot dodge, especially since you can now change mid-air. Now in Brawl, there was a quote feature called Stamina that caused your Pokemon's attacks to become weaker the more they used and the longer they were out on the field, up to a 30% reduction, so you had to change out Pokemon to let the other ones rest up. In Smash Ultimate, this is no longer the case, and a player can simply play with just one Pokemon the entire time if they so wish. You still switch Pokemon every time you respawn, but switching is so fast now, you should be able to get back to the one you want to play before your invincibility wears off. Now in Brawl, Pokemon Trainer actually had type advantage and disadvantages, causing Pokemon to take either 10% more or less knockback on certain moves. I am not sure if this returns in Ultimate or not, though Ivysaur did seem to die suspiciously early to Sheik's Vanish, and Charizard reportedly now takes damage while swimming, so it's anyone's guess. Now that we have the universal aspects taken care of, we can start diving into the individual members of the team, and who better to help us dive in than our little friend Squirtle. Squirtle was obviously meant to be the lightweight scrapper of the team, and his moveset definitely reflects this. Starting with his jab, which is a simple punch kick and tail swipe combo, this move is incredibly quick, coming out at frame 2. That makes it one of the fastest attacks in the game full stop. Its damage is a bit mediocre, which is par for the course with Squirtle really, with 3 hits doing 2, 1.5, and 4% respectively. It also lacks range, but its speed should make up for this. His F-tilt has him do a quick swipe around with his tail, coming out very quick at 5 frames and dealing 5% to go along with it. This move has almost no lag and will definitely be one of Squirtle's go-to poking tools. His down tilt has Squirtle slide back to do a quick watery leg sweep on his opponent. This move basically acts like a slightly slower, slightly stronger version of F-tilt, coming out frame 8 and dealing 8%. It does decent damage, but lacks the utility that the quicker F-tilt brings. Squirtle's up tilt has him bounce up and do a little headbutt, launching his opponent up with him. This move is extremely fast at frame 5 and is active for most of the jump, but its complete lack of horizontal range hurts its utility, and its 5% base damage is simply tolerable for a move like this. Still, if you catch a landing or a jump with it, it should have great combo potential. His dash attack has Squirtle use his new surfing dash to boost him forward for a drop kick, which is quite a bit different than his Brawl animation where he tackled with his shell. This move comes out in a decent 8 frames and does a less than decent 8% of base damage. Pretty standard dash attack, nothing to get too excited over. His up smash, however, is fairly exciting. Squirtle launches 2 twin geysers of water on either side of him. This move has a launching hitbox that comes out about frame 19, which is very slow, but the hitbox itself is very massive and very active. The damage isn't bad either, with 3% on the launcher and 13% on the strongest part of the water, with damage decreasing gradually the later and more sour the hitboxes get. One of the best kill moves on a character that really wasn't meant to be killing. His F smash has Squirtle shoot a quick shot of water in an arc in front of him. This differs from his Brawl F smash where he drew into a shell and launched forward, which means that it loses the armor it once had, but it does have a decent disjoint and can be angled. I'm not sure the middling 15% base damage justifies the frame 20 startup, however, and will make this move hard to use outside of hard read scenarios. Down smash is like F smash got an upgrade. Now Squirtle does a full spin, shooting water out in every direction and dealing an okay 13%. This move is also pretty slow at 17 frames, but the end lag seems manageable, so it could be worth using if you really need to get the kill with Squirtle for some reason. Returning to form, Squirtle's grab is tied for the fastest I've analyzed in Ultimate, coming out in 6 frames and ending in 35 if you whiff it. The range is pretty bad on it though. I mean, look at him, even he isn't sure he can reach, so I wouldn't be too brazen with it. When you do land this grab though, you have 4 decent throws to choose from. His forward throw has Squirtle leap up on his opponent and kick them in their chest.
You know what, motherfucker? Eat a dick, nigga. I'm tired of this mother.
Oh yeah! Look at you!
This doesn't kill or anything, but it does do a decent 8% damage and could lead into some tech chases. With his down throw, Squirtle jumps and slams his body onto his opponent, very similar to Wario's. This does another decent 7% and launches very high and away. Reportedly this throw still combos at certain percents, though I think its higher percent utility will be limited. With Squirtle's up throw, he throws his opponent up and headbutts them into the air. Judging by the vertical launch angle, low cooldown, and lower 7% base damage this throw has, it is pretty obvious this was meant to be the go-to combo throw, and in that role, it performs very nicely, allowing for follow-ups at various percents. Squirtle's back throw is all new and much improved. Instead of kicking his opponents in the back, he now wraps them up in a whirlpool and tosses them out. This throw is another member of the 8% damage club, but this time it has some power to back it up, now having kill power similar to back throws like Diddy's. Moving on to his aerials, this is where Squirtle gets to put his fantastic air mobility to good use. Starting with his Nair, this move is very similar to Kirby, spinning around with a strong 10% initial hit and a very active 7% late hit. This aerial comes out very quick at frame 4 and will most likely be one of Squirtle's best out of shield, pressure, and landing tools. His fair is more of the same good news. Fast startup at frame 5, only 6 frames of landing lag, and decent enough damage at 6%. This move combined with Squirtle's air mobility will make for a very oppressive neutral tool. Bear is another completely different creation for Smash Ultimate, now acting as a multi-hit very similar to Pikachu's. It is also extremely fast, coming out in just 5 frames, dealing 1% on the multi-hits, 6% on the finishing hit, and 2% on the landing hitbox. This move could be very useful for edgeguards as it is very active, but the rather lackluster amount of lag makes it less than optimal for drag down setups and landing. Dare has Squirtle spin around on his tail similar to Mario. This again comes out frame 5, this time doing 1.5% on the multi-hits and 4% on the finisher. This move's lack of horizontal range will definitely hurt it in the long run, but I can see it being effective on shield when auto-cancelled correctly. Up air is basically a stronger, slightly slower Pikachu up air, with Squirtle swinging his tail in an arc above him. This move starts, you guessed it, frame 5, but is active for a good bit of time after that, doing a respectable 7% throughout. This move I could see being downright obnoxious in juggle situations as the disjoint seems bigger than one might expect. Now for his specials, we've already covered down B, so let's talk about neutral B. Water Gun acts very similarly to Flood, but charges faster, only taking about 1 second, has better horizontal range, but covers a much narrower area. Like Flood, this move doesn't do any real damage per se, but having a long range windbox in a game with one very laggy air dodge and nerfed ledge grabs can be very useful. Side B, Withdrawal, has Squirtle go into a shell and fly forward. He starts moving around frame 20, and damage is based on how fast you're going. The most I've seen it do is a little less than 13%. You can cancel this move as well, with Squirtle coming to an emergency stop, and get a bigger burst of initial speed if you smash the stick forward instead of tilting it. Don't get footstooled while using this move though, or you will be put into a helpless state, Koopa Troopa style, for a good long while, with offstage footstools basically being a death sentence. Finally, his up B waterfall makes Squirtle climb his way up, well, a waterfall. This brings a decent amount of recovery and will start moving at frame 10. If you land all the hits of this move, it will deal around 13% base damage too. Not the best, but not the worst. With the little man covered more or less, I think it's time we move on to his slightly bigger, more quadruped brother-in-arms, Ivysaur. Contrasting Squirtle's more quick and in-your-face CQC playstyle, Ivysaur seems to be designed more for slower, more methodical spacing and keep-away play. Once again, this Pokemon's jab illustrates this quite well, coming out frame 7, which is pretty slow for a jab, but having the range and power to make it pretty safe if it's spaced correctly. Jab 1 and 2 do 2% each, with the rapid jab bringing you somewhere around 10% total. Overall, not a bad start for our resident grass type. His F-tilt, however, seems to be one of the worst attacks in Ultimate right now. Coming out in a mediocre 10 frames, Ivysaur spins his leaves around like a helicopter, dealing 1.5% on the multi-hits and finishing with a 2% hit for a total of 11 if you're lucky. Honestly, this move is giving me some serious Palutena tilt-itis, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Down tilt shows a lot more promise. Now only hitting once, this move comes out very quick at frame 5 and does 5.5%. It isn't going to break the meta or anything, but it should come in handy as a decent poking or whiff punish tool. Ivysaur's up tilt, like Squirtle's, is a move that seems to have a very specific niche. Ivysaur takes 7 frames to launch himself up, proceeding to do 7% to anything he hits along the way. This isn't much of a combo tool like Squirtle's, but it does do decent knockback, and the greater range could help for anti-airs or even platform pokes on certain stages. Dash attack has Ivysaur do his best impression of Ganon, shoulder bashing his way through the opponent and doing 12%, with a slightly weaker 10% hitbox later on. Unlike Ganon's, this move actually comes out super fast at frame 4, making it one of the fastest dash attacks in the game. You cannot complain about a move with Ridley damage and chic frame data. You can complain, however, about a smash attack that struggles to reach 2 damage figures, which is exactly what down smash does. Coming out in an okay 13 frames, this admittedly disjointed move does a very not okay 10%. In Brawl it had a chance to trip to justify its existence, but I haven't seen it trip once in Ultimate, so for right now, don't bother with it. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have Ivysaur's Up Smash, which is a contender for strongest up smash in the game, dealing 17%, having a great hitbox, and killing earlier than an exploding flower has any right to. It better be strong though, with its 26 frame startup. That makes it one of the slowest smashes in the game, but I have a feeling if you manage to land this move, it'll be winning you the match anyway. F-Smash is much less polarizing, still doing a very respectable 16% base damage and killing like an F-Smash should. But this time you only have to wait 16 frames before it hits something. This move can be angled, and I can see the slingshot style hurtbox shifting coming in handy for tripping up your opponent. Appropriately for Ivysaur, his grab is stuck in an awkward middle between normal grab and tether. It doesn't quite have the range of a tether, and it certainly doesn't have the frame data of a normal grab, coming out in a disappointing 13 frames. Close range grappling is definitely not Ivysaur's strong suit, but it does give you access to some pretty good throws. Starting with his all-new forward throw, Ivysaur smacks himself into his opponent and deals a decent 10%. Nothing too crazy about this one, but it should do its job. Moving up the ladder of quality, we have down throw, the obligatory combo throw of the group. It does a very combo throw-like 7%, and leads into a few follow-ups that I'm sure will be optimized later on in the meta. Back throw is the most damaging throw of the entire Pokemon team, dealing 12% base damage. This damage comes with knockback on par with back throws like Mewtwo, killing well below 150%. His up throw is essentially an upgraded version of down throw, this time dealing 9% damage and still retaining its combo ability at least at low percent. At higher percent, this throw will lead into some scary advantage situations with Ivysaur's aerials, which we'll get into right now. Lackluster out of the way first, Ivysaur's new Nair has him spin his leaves around like a saw blade, dealing 1% each in the multi-hits and 2% on the finisher for a rather lame total of 8%. It doesn't come out particularly fast at frame 7 and has too much landing lag to properly lead into anything. Luckily, Ivysaur is a much better aerial pressure tool in the form of back air. This move looks very promising. It has decent disjoint for its startup of 7 frames, does decent damage with 3% on the first hit and 6 on the second, and has an absurdly low 8 frames of lightning lag. This move is already seen as one of Ivysaur's best, and definitely a staple in his meta. His fare is more good news. It may come out pretty slow at 14 frames, but the damage is nice. There's a sour spot doing 10%, but 90% of the time, you're gonna hit the 12% sweet spot. It also has a favorable vertical launch angle which can set up into up air. Speaking of up air, what a move. This attack makes up for its less than stellar 12 frame startup with top tier damage output of 15% and incredible power. So much power in fact that it causes Ivysaur to fast fall, which could actually help mix up his disadvantage state. Down air is a sort of upside down up air, coming out in an almost identical 11 frames and launching the opponent downward in a spike. This has the same great hitbox of up air and makes Ivysaur float a little bit, similar to Rob's Dare, which could come in handy or get in the way. We will have to see. Moving on to his specials, things get very different. Starting with Neutral Bee, Bullet Seed, this move launches the opponent up in a decently quick 7 frames and pelts them with seeds until it hits its new finishing hitbox, dealing damage up to around 20%. With the lack of SDI in the demo, this move saw a huge influx of utility, but if SDI were to be reinstated in the final build, I do not see it being used in singles over something like down tilt or up tilt. I can see it being very useful in doubles however. Things don't get much better when we look at Up B, otherwise known as Vine Whip. This move is what they gave to Ivysaur and said, "Here, recover with this. This is all you get. Other characters get a real Up B with their tether recovery, but not you. F*** you, Ivysaur." Jokes aside, I don't think this move was meant to be good. You have 2 other Pokemon to recover with at your disposal, but you can angle it anywhere from 45 to 90 degrees, which helps. It can also be used for attacking if you really want to, and has a pretty satisfying sweet spot at its tip, but I really wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend using a Side B though. Resolute comes out pretty quick at 21 frames, and ends quick enough to even combo off sometimes. The damage isn't bad either, with 8% initially, falling to 6, and eventually 4 as it travels. This move can also be angled, and the distances can be adjusted whether you smash or tilt the stick forward. Like Zero said, this move is really what solidifies Ivysaur's zoner status and should be used frequently. Not too frequently though, because the stale Q doesn't reset when you switch Pokemon, so if you abuse moves like Side B and Back Air too much, you are severely weakening the next Pokemon in line, Charizard's most powerful kill options. Which brings us to our final member of the team. Since Charizard was playable in Smash 4, this gives us the ability to directly compare his previous appearance with his Ultimate version, and honestly, not much has changed. He does have a couple new taunts, one where he flies around and strikes a quick pose, and another where he does his best impression of Ridley. Moving on to his actual attacks, I suppose we could start with his jab, which has gotten a couple of nerfs. First off, it does less damage, with the first 2 hits now doing 2.5% each, a nerf from 3 and 4% respectively. Secondly, Jab 2 seems to have trouble connecting, as its hitbox seems too small to follow up properly from Jab 1. As far as his tilts go, his up tilt has received a minor buff. It now comes out 1 frame earlier at frame 8, and Charizard now spreads his wings out more horizontally. Whether this is just an aesthetic change or actually has more lateral range has yet to be seen. His F tilt might have been nerfed though. I say might because while it seems identical, it also doesn't seem to be able to hit its mark until frame 12. 1 frame slower than in Smash 4. This could be chalked up to Z-axis issues, and if it is, I wouldn't be surprised if it was fixed. Speaking of Z-axis issues, his back air seems to have gotten its problems fixed, now hitting at a much better angle and making it easier to hit overall. His forward air though has gotten nerfed. It no longer auto-cancels out of a short hop. This is due to Charizard's airtime being reduced by 1 frame. Me and Virum, a premier Charizard main and commentator, both agree that they changed something about Charizard's air physics, be it fall speed, gravity, jump height, whatever, and simply imported the auto-cancel data of Fair without adjusting it properly. I wouldn't be surprised if this was changed in the final release. His Dare now has a new Falcon-esque horizontal hitbox on its initial hit that launches very hard. This should help keep Dare from missing its mark and help bolster its utility. And of course, since Charizard was in Smash 4, that means he is eligible for a Lightning Lag Lightning Round. Let's get started.
Ready? Go!
Nair's been buffed from 20 frames to 13 frames. Nair already had setups in Smash 4 when it was auto-cancel, but now with less lag, he might have some landing setups as well. Up air has also been buffed from 20 frames down to 13. While landing up air isn't the best idea, this could potentially help in sharking situations. Fair has been buffed just 5 frames from 22 to 17. I honestly expected more, but since Fair does not currently short hop auto-cancel, Charizard will have to make the most of his buff to maintain presence in the neutral. Bear's been buffed 5 frames as well, for a total of 19. Bear was already relatively safe when spaced at the sweet spot, but now it should be less punishing when you land with some of the weaker hitboxes. Dare's gotten the biggest buff, going from 33 frames to 21. With the new hitbox and improved lag, I can see Dare becoming a decently reliable combo starter with the right read.
Complete!
As far as Charizard's smash attacks, the only one that has gotten any change is up smash. According to Viridian, the two hits connect with each other extremely reliably, and I too have yet to see an instance where it did not work. Charizard's up smash in 4 was potentially a top tier move, held back by reliability issues. With those fixed, it seems Charizard will have an even better advantage state as he uses his great dash speed to shark with it. The only throw to receive any changes is down throw. It still does the same damage, but along with a fresh new animation, it has also gotten a fresh new nerf to its combo utility. It still combos, but not as well as before. It seems to need a few less frames of end lag to restore it back to Smash 4 status. His specials are mostly unchanged. Obviously, he no longer has his Rock Smash down B, as it was replaced with the ability to change Pokemon. Normally I would say this would hurt his disadvantage state, but honestly I feel like changing Pokemon will be a better escape option than Rock Smash ever was. This also means that he kept his side B, Flare Blitz, which has had its damage buff from 19 up to 24%. Flare Blitz was already a pretty ludicrous move knockback wise, but now it should better make up for the recoil damage you take when you land it. The last substantial change I could find is that now Charizard holds onto ledge with just one arm. This may seem trivial, but when he used 2 arms in Smash 4, his head poked out above the ledge and was vulnerable to a plethora of attacks, even things like Sheik's Needles. So this is definitely a big deal. To wrap everything up, Pokemon Trainer's Triple Finish Final Smash is back, but this time the text box has been updated to more closely resemble Gen 7's graphics. And finally, we are finished. Thank you for watching everyone, this one was a doozy. I want to give a special shout out to Ruben, Meshima, and the other frame data analysts for putting together and letting me edit the frame data spreadsheet for Smash Ultimate. It was nice to have someone there to double check my findings. And finally, thank you to Zero and the Reflex Wonder for helping to compile a lot of the moveset footage used in this video. Music I used is in the description below. Subscribe for more analysis videos leading up to the release of Smash Ultimate, and if you want to request a certain character to be covered next, just leave it in the comment with the hashtag #PleaseAnalyze. Once again, thank you, and I will see you in the next video.